=script_start=. They thought she would just sit there and take it, pack her bags, disappear into the night, and quietly board a flight to her next destination. That is what normal tennis players do after a heartbreaking loss. But what happened at the Steffi Graf Stadium turned a standard championship final into complete chaos. Just as Jessica Pegula and Linda Noskova were walking onto the court to battle for the Berlin Open title, a sudden murmur rippled through the capacity crowd. Heads turned, phones rose in unison, and a figure emerged from the players' tunnel who was absolutely not supposed to be there. It was Alex Eala. Less than 24 hours earlier, the 21-year-old Filipino sensation had walked off this exact grass court in tears, her miraculous Cinderella run brutally cut short. She was scheduled to be over 300 kilometers away in Bad Homburg, desperately preparing for her next tournament. Instead, she was walking right back onto center court in civilian clothes, carrying no rackets, with a serene smile on her face that left commentators scrambling and the entire tennis world completely speechless. And the wildest part? This spontaneous return goes way deeper than anyone realizes. To truly understand the shockwave this caused, you have to look at what Alex Eala had just accomplished over the preceding week. She entered the Berlin Open as a mere wildcard entry, a massive underdog facing the absolute elite of women's tennis. What followed was total destruction. Eala dismantled the world number 2, took down a former world number 3, and silenced a surging Queen's Club champion. With every victory, the historic Steffi Graf Stadium was completely transformed, as thousands of passionate fans turned the German arena into a thunderous home corner for Manila. Philippine flags dominated the stands, and the traditional chant of Laban echoed off the grass. The massive run rocketed Eala up the WTA rankings, climbing rapidly from number 35 to number 30 in the world. More importantly, she secured a historic seeded position for Wimbledon, making her the first Filipino player in tennis history to ever earn a single seed at a Grand Slam. The momentum felt completely unstoppable, a fairy tale rise that looked destined for a trophy. Remember this historic milestone. It becomes crucial later when you realize exactly what she was risking by refusing to leave Berlin. Because on that bittersweet semi-final night, the dream came crashing down. Linda Noskova, the clinical 21-year-old Czech phenom, put on an absolute masterclass in power tennis. Noskova ended the fairy tale with a brutal 6-2, 6-4 victory that took just 69 minutes. The Czech's explosive serve produced 9 aces, and her baseline ground strokes were utterly punishing. Eala fought with everything she had, mounting a fierce resistance in the second set to break Noskova and level the score at 4-3. The crowd erupted, the flags waved, and for a fleeting moment, it looked like a signature comeback was brewing. But Linda Noskova quickly slammed the door shut, securing a love hold and then breaking Eala at love to seal the match with a crisp serve and volley winner. Eala walked off the court with her head held high, but her eyes were filled with tears of pure exhaustion and heartbreak. The tournament was over, the magical run was finished, and every single insider assumed she had immediately left town to focus on her next obligation. They were completely wrong. And this is where the story takes a turn nobody expected. Within hours of the semi-final handshake, the tennis media moved on. The headlines shifted entirely to the other semi-final, where Jessica Pegula had absolutely demolished world number 1 Aryna Sabalenka. The final was set, the silver trophy was polished, and Alex Eala had seemingly vanished from the grounds. The logistical assumption was obvious. Eala was scheduled to play world number 24 Elise Mertens in the first round of the Bad Homburg Open, the final critical warm-up event before Wimbledon. Skipping town to adjust to the new venue was the only logical choice for a professional athlete. But the first sign of an alternate plan appeared late that night on social media. Eala posted an emotional gallery of her Berlin victories and heartbreaks, captioning it with a message stating she could not begin to describe the emotions she felt, and that her heart was full. It read like a permanent tribute, not a standard goodbye message. Soon after, the internet caught fire. A tournament staff member whispered that she had not checked out of her hotel. A sharp journalist tweeted that her team had refused to confirm any travel plans to Bad Homburg. By the morning of the final, her name was still on the active entry list for her next tournament, yet no one had seen her board a flight. Now here's the part that should make you realize the sheer gravity of this moment. On June 22nd, 22,500 fans completely packed the Steffi Graf Stadion. The tournament had already survived severe thunderstorms, a completely flooded court, and a massive 24-hour delay. As the chairperson prepared to introduce Jessica Pegula and Linda Noskova, a deafening roar started near the players' tunnel. Alex Eala walked out, completely bypassing security protocols, and took a seat directly in the front row of the players' box next to her coach, Joan Bosch. The stadium went absolutely chaotic. Thousands of Philippine flags that had been folded and packed into backpacks days prior suddenly reappeared. The thunderous chants of Laban completely drowned out the stadium's public address announcements. The television cameras completely abandoned the two finalists, zooming in tightly on Eala. On the court, the players paused. Noskova looked genuinely stunned to see the woman she had defeated just hours ago, while the veteran Pegula simply smiled and shook her head in disbelief. Eala raised her hand in a small wave, acknowledging a fan base that had completely refused to leave the city without seeing her one last time. And this is where it gets personal. When a reporter frantically asked her during a stadium changeover why she had returned to the scene of her heartbreaking defeat, Eala delivered an answer that exposed the true heart of an athlete. She admitted that when she walked off the court in tears after losing to Noskova, she was so consumed by the pain of defeat that she forgot to properly thank the people who made the week possible. She looked out at the crowd and noted that these fans had crossed entire oceans, spent money they did not have, took critical time off work, and painted their faces just to scream her name until their voices gave out. She returned purely to look them in the eyes and say thank you. Think about the immense pressure elite tennis players face today. They live in a hyper-isolated bubble where ranking points, endorsement deals, and recovery protocols dictate every single second of their lives. Sitting in a stadium watching the person who just crushed your Grand Slam preparation is considered an unthinkable distraction. Imagine if your boss told you to spend your day off publicly celebrating the coworker who just took your promotion. That is the sports equivalent of what Alex Eala did. She completely rejected the sterile corporate expectations of modern tennis to honor a human connection. As the final point was played and Jessica Pegula lifted the championship silverware, the defining image of the entire 2026 Berlin Open was already written. It was not the champion holding the trophy. It was an unseeded wildcard sitting in the stands, wiping away tears of gratitude. After the presentation, Eala walked down to the court barriers, where young children were holding handmade signs reading "You Make Us Proud." She leaned over the concrete wall, placed her hand near theirs, and simply whispered the words "Salamat po." The gesture triggered absolute tears from parents and screams from the young fans, turning elite European tournament into a massive emotional homecoming. Because here is what this all means going forward. When Alex Eala finally vanished down the players' tunnel for the last time, she confirmed she was immediately heading to Bad Homburg to protect her historic Wimbledon seed and chase her Grand Slam dream. But she left the tennis world with a massive realization. She openly stated that this specific week changed her forever, reminding her that she does not play this grueling sport for the computer rankings or the shiny trophies. She plays for the connection, and she plays for the love of her people. Alex Eala proved to the entire global tennis establishment that you do not need a championship trophy to dictate who owns the stadium. True legacy is not defined by a scorecard. It is defined by the souls you inspire along the way. Did Alex Eala make the right move by risking her tournament preparation to thank her fans? Or should she have been on a plane to Bad Homburg? Drop a comment below and let me know exactly how you felt watching this historic return. =SIIA, Kep.